Hello, this video is what I think about Nassim Haramein. I just kind of decided to do this spontaneously. I was going to study him a little bit more, but I decided to go ahead and do it now just because I listened to Nassim Haramein. He has like a 19-part series on some channel that I saw like, I don't know, like 8-9 months ago or something like that. And then I saw like a 3-part of him doing a presentation. He's one of these like New Ager guys who likes to be like, yeah, dude, the aliens are here. And he gives the presentation on, you know, interesting stuff about the pyramids. Like, oh, how did they put this tree of life into, you know, next to Temple of Abydos? It's burnt in, obviously, with lasers. How do they do that? How do they make cart the pyramid stones to 300 tons from 60 miles away, you know? And same thing at the pyramids in Central America from 100 miles away. And he has a really cool way of talking. He's like the stoner dude with long hair, lived out of his van like I do. And but his main thing is he is the guy who I guess is saying he's figured out oh my god, I'm drawing a blank here. It's the grand unified field theory, which is basically the answer to the universe. Back Einstein 100 years ago figured out what the theory of relativity was and invented the concept of quantum physics, which is where stuff isn't actual units. Like the atom isn't composed of like this tiny rock that's just really small and it's these two rocks next to each other. You know, kind of like how people used to think that when a guy screwed a woman and his sperm, it was just like tiny people like swimming through. And then they kind of jumped inside of the egg, you know, and the person was whole from the man. And that was, you know, the baby only came from the man because it was like a little person. And Newtonian, it was like an actual unit. It's not energy. And so Einstein came up with the idea that, no, it's actually energy. Everything's composed of energy, and that's how. And so time, therefore, is composed of the same energy. And time can change if you. Anyways, I've done a video on theory of relativity. So then they figured that out, and so ever since then they've been trying to figure out like what that energy signature is composed of and created by, shaped like. So they build all of these giant. I'll try to do this in one video. They build all these giant hadron colliders that were like 15 kilometers around. In Switzerland, they made one. They made one in Texas that they never finished after like billions of dollars they spent on it. Where they shoot light around at almost the speed of light, and then they shoot these protons together a bunch of times until they hit, and then they explode, and then they take photos of them, and then they try to look at the configuration and see, like, you know, okay, that exists in another dimension. They did a bunch of times and found all these different configurations, different dimensions, up to 11 dimensions, and but they kept getting all these new discoveries of how matter or energy creates matter. And so they invented the nucleus and the proton and the electron. And I mean, I even remember the growth and the explanation people give. You know, first the electron is this big, and then the electron, oh no, it actually doesn't have any mass at all. It's just a charge. And then, you know, they say, oh yeah, that now the proton is composed of the boson, and then it's the quark, and then it's like 2 positive quarks of 33% each, and then a negative quark of 66%, so they cancel each other out, and they're bleeping in and off, or 22 zeros after one in a second. But then they're created out of these other things, these muons and these gluons and the strings, and now it's string theory, and then string theory becomes M theory, and it's basically just doing patchwork, having this, that, and then every time, you know, as they're adding the new patchwork on, they're claiming that they have it all figured out when they really don't have it all figured out. And he gave an actual really good story of how incomplete their idea was. He was this dude, you know, hippie dude with brown skin, with a weird name, goes in with all these like guys, these like old physicists, and they go, yeah, you know, the Big Bang, they created the universe. And then he goes, well, where did the Big Bang come from? And they were looking at him like, come on, man, don't ask us that. Because they didn't have the answer. They didn't. But since then, they actually have, with M theory, maybe that's what M theory is, came up with the answer of what the Big Bang comes from. It was actually two hyperdimensional membranes of bubbles that collided with each other, and as they collide, it created the universe that we live in. And, you know, it's colliding continuously, so the universe is continuously being created. And that's actually a pretty good description, because it explains infinite amounts of parallel universes on the different, you know, graduating timeline. It doesn't, and I guess even infinite amount of parallel universes on our same exact timeline. It's just on the, you know, that they were created at a slightly different shape, so that we don't communicate with each other. I actually like that explanation, but I could picture the physicist when he was talking to these guys. Maybe it was before they invented M theory, going like, "Oh, come on, don't ask us that." They didn't have it figured out, and he was just asking them. And anyways, he comes after this long explanation. Nassim Haramein idea of the structure of the universe is that basically, it's basically like boiling everything down and making it simple. And I love it how he describes it and how he contemplates it. It's kind of like, before I actually explain what he explains, it's kind of like, you know, the analogy would be, you have, well, it's kind of like my website. Like, you know, my website's actually the perfect analogy. I make like all these YouTube videos. I have 2,000 YouTube videos where I do this video, and then I do that video, and then I do the next video. And then I have my website where I have this article and that article and that article and that article. And it's all like, it's all created by the same person. It's all with the same basic idea about life, but it's disjointed. So then I go in there, and right now it was what I'm doing, and I go, okay, what page should let's put this article and this video in the same page, but what page should we put it in, and what should I title the page? Let's put it all together into one cohesive thing, so that this is this one unit. Boil it all down. Maybe another analogy would be somebody is organizing their house, or they're a pack rat, and they, like my mom, and they've got like, they pack like all the stuff that they don't need into a box, and then they close the box and they don't want to deal with it, and then they like want to clean their house again, so they pack everything in their house into a box and they throw that away. So when you open up the box, each box has 2 batteries, an electric cord, and an old cell phone, and you know, they all have the same everything. So you open it up, and then you want to put all the cell phones in the same place, the electric cords in the same place, and the tape in the same place. You know, it's basically bring it all together. That's basically my idea, loose idea of what he's trying to do. And it's like, so it's not like seeing everything as separate, it's seeing everything as the same. Everything, like, and so basically he made these, and I guess he even boiled it down to a mathematical equation. Now, and he said that, you know, modern day physicists, they're like 80 years old because it takes them that long to figure out the math. Oh my God. I would love it if they were smart enough to explain the math. I mean, if I was that old and knew that much math, you better believe I'd be able to explain all of it. If that's one thing you know about me, I can explain whatever I understand. If I can't explain something, it means I don't understand it. And too bad these guys aren't smart enough to articulate. But if they, and I have heard these guys try to explain M theory, and they don't explain it. They're just like, M theory is this. Okay, there, after 20 seconds. So it's like, whatever. But anyways, he said that they know so much math that, my God, it seems like a lot of math. But I guess he does the math too. And there was one YouTube guy, and this was a long time ago, 8 months ago when I first saw the video, called Alien Scientist, who did a video describing Nassim Haramein. He actually explained the math behind it. And I was like, wow, he even explained math behind it. But I do understand the basic concept of what he's talking about. And it's that the universe is created of basically, you know, a fractal. Something that's this, or a hologram, something that's the same shape, and it just grows out from that shape. And that's how atoms are structured. And he even had like artwork. Now the artwork didn't do it for me. He did not adequately explain it from the artwork, because I tried to connect it to the outer lattice work and it didn't work. But basically he says it all starts, I might have to make this into a part 2. It all starts with a triangle, okay? A 3-dimensional triangle, which is called a tetrahedron, and everybody talks about that. But it's a triangle. And then it comes out, right? Now that's the basic shape. And then everything grows off of that. And of course, the sphere would go around the triangle. So there's the masculine. He's very mystical and, you know, holistic in the way that he describes it. That's the masculine, and the feminine would be the circle around it. But then he made these artwork, which is actually on my website. This artwork of the tetrahedron, and then the tetrahedron is inside of, I don't know if it's the 5 platonic solids. Maybe it is the 5 platonic solids. The tetrahedric turns into the other platonic solid. But you have the tetrahedron inside of the greater lattice work that it's like, I guess, a bunch of tetrahedrons put together, kind of like Legos or something, Rector set. And then the tetrahedrons inside of the tetrahedrons, and it just grows out. So because it grows out, it can grow out all the way to to infinity, and it can go all the way in. Now his idea is that it goes all the way into infinitely small. So basically, and these tetrahedrons goes throughout the entire universe. So, you know, space isn't space, it's just a lattice work of energy that's actually there from the tetrahedrons connected to each other, creating as big of a tetrahedron as you want, or as small of a tetrahedron as you want. Just by looking at it. Am I going to visualize a small tetrahedron or a big tetrahedron? And it goes, and you could say, so if you were going to visualize a sphere made out of a, you know, connecting the edges of the tetrahedrons of your given tetrahedron in the middle, you could create a sphere out of anything in the entire universe. Here, 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 here. Just imagine it. So basically, the center of the universe could be anywhere in the universe. The outer edges of your little tetrahedronal ball, sphere, could be as big as you want, as small as you want. So basically, he says, basically under his idea is that everything is a black hole. Every atom is actually a black hole, because that energy that comes down and condenses down goes in the same exact configuration. It's kind of like compressing a computer. If you compress it, you can compress it, compress it, compress it. Well, you can compress it infinitely. And that's how, you know, that's what black holes are anyways. The gravity is so strong that it overwhelms the valency positive charge, pushing away charge of the, you know, the atoms, and then the nucleuses, and then the protons and everything, up into a singularity, which has no mass, or no size, but it has infinite mass, or, you know, as much mass as a galaxy, sucks in light, and it just goes in. Now he was even taking that a step further in that, you know, if you fall into a black hole, you don't die, like a lot of people say now, like, oh yeah, oh, you're in trouble if you fall in a black hole, but you actually compress, you know, like the hologram, like the infinitely compacting, coherent, you know, sacred geometrical pattern. You compress all down, so you're the same size, you compress, and then you can pop out the other end. So that's how they travel around the universe. They go into the black hole of the sun, and then they pop out the black hole of our sun. And he says that happens all the time in our sun. He says we have photographs of ice balls coming out of our sun all the time. Water comes out of our sun because water is H2O, which is the shape of a perfect tetrahedron. Or it's actually the shape of just a two-dimensional triangle, but close enough to a tetrahedron, I suppose. Maybe if you put, you know, the molecules together, you'll get something similar enough to a tetrahedron. You'll get a three-dimensional tetrahedron. I don't know what that's called, but with the pokes coming out on either side instead of just one. But that is what water is, H2O. It's 2 oxygens and a hydrogen, which creates a perfect triangle. So it's, I guess it's kind of like gold. It's the perfectly, you know, perfectly shaped, you know, shape. So he says that's how water pops out of the sun, and that's how aliens travel from universe to universe. And I actually believe that is one method that aliens do travel around the galaxy, is from popping in and out of suns, because there's black holes in suns, and that's how, and popping out in and out of black holes from one galaxy to the next. Ooh, let's do a part 2.